So when I was watching the Miami Dolphins lose to the Texans today, the biggest thing that I was saying all afternoon is that the Miami Dolphins, they need some damn trench babies, man. They need to get better up front. For the last 3, 4 years, this franchise has continued to neglect the offensive line. And that's why they keep on losing late during the season. Because once you get into late November, December, early January, that's when you have to be able to be a physical football team. Because you got to be able to go on the road in these cold weather environments and be able to be physical. You got to be able to run the football. You can't be this soft finesse football team like the Dolphins have tend to be under Mike McDaniel as the head coach. You see, they had so much success early during the year and the earlier months of the season, September, early October, because it's not that cold and they can just throw the football all over the field. But once you get into December, playoff time, pretty much, that's when you got to be able to impose your will up front. And the Dolphins can't do that. And in this 20-12 loss against the Houston Texans, Tua threw 3 interceptions. Of course, everybody is going to talk about that, but the dude was running for his life all afternoon. He got sacked 3 times, didn't really have that much time to throw the football, and the ground game got held to 52 rushing yards. So when you can't run the football and you're just depending on your passing attack to carry the load for you, that's a winning recipe to suck in the postseason. And that's why the Dolphins aren't going to be in it, because the playoffs already started for Miami. This game was Miami's playoff matchup because they needed to win this game to stay alive in the playoff race. And with this loss, you now pretty much don't have a single chance at getting in, because whoever gets the 7th seed is probably going to be a 10-17. I don't think anybody's going to get in this year at 9-8. Like the Miami Dolphins this offseason, I think their offseason plan is pretty clear what they need to do. They need to sign 6 offensive linemen in free agency. And when the draft rolls around, they need to get nothing but offensive linemen. Maybe get a few linebackers, a few defensive linemen, but all of their free agency signings, all of their draft picks need to be offensive linemen. Because if you get so many offensive linemen, it doesn't matter how many don't pan out, because at least 3 or 4 are going to be good enough to improve this porous offensive line that has been your Achilles heel for the last 3, 4 years. Because when you watch Miami play, you see a team that just lacks physicality. They're soft. They got no balls about them at all. It's just hard to watch Miami just playing teams like the Houston Texans that don't have as good as an offense as what they do and just get pushed around. It's just really annoying. I'm not a Dolphins fan, but just watching them today, watching Tua have to just run around, pretty much running for his career, pretty much, because if he gets hit the wrong way on that head again, it's RIP to his playing career. The Miami Dolphins need to do everything they can this offseason on improving the interior of their offensive line. It's already bad enough that some of their better offensive linemen last year departed in free agency and they didn't bring them back. And then the draft, they didn't really do that much to improve outside of drafting that offensive tackle that they got out of Houston. That's about it. The Dolphins need to fully commit this offseason to rebuilding this team on the line of scrimmage. It's one thing to have all of this speed on the perimeter, because they do say speed kills, and that is true until you get into after Thanksgiving, into December, because that's when you got to be able to win these cold weather games on the road. And that's why the Miami Dolphins got blitzed by the Green Bay Packers. They just couldn't hold up front. And I know you Dolphins fans are tired of hearing this, but you guys need to go ahead and get you some trench babies. You need to solidify the trenches. Football, at the end of the day, is still a game that is won and lost on the line of scrimmage. If you can't win up front, then you already lost. The Houston Texans offense is dookie. Okay, you had all these turnovers, and yet you only lost by 8 points. That shows you that if you were better up front, you could have easily won this game. The Texans are not good. The Texans are going to be an easy one-and-done playoff team. If you want an easy bet to make come playoff time, Bet against the Houston Texans. Whoever they play in the first round, it doesn't matter. They could play the Ravens. They could play the Broncos. They could play whoever. Just know that they're losing in the first round because they don't have a good offense. Their defense carried them in this game. And the main reason was because you just got blitzed up front. Every time Tua Tagovailoa dropped back to pass, somebody was breaking loose. It's like the dude only had like 0.3, 0.4 of a second to survey the field and throw the football. And listen, I know that Tua, with the 3 interceptions, it definitely looks ugly considering all of the money that he got during this offseason. But I still believe that you can win with Tua. Because when Tua wasn't playing, this team was unwatchable. And when Tua's in these games, when you're going up against bad or average teams, you put up a lot of points. When you go up against good teams, you normally struggle with Tua because you're not good up front. That's why this offense is predicated off of getting the ball out fast. And, I think the biggest reason why the Dolphins continue to neglect the offensive line is because Mike McDaniel comes from that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree. And Kyle Shanahan, he neglects the offensive line. That's why the 49ers have been a major disappointment this year because they're not as good as what they need to be up front in order to win games and to sustain the success that they had last season. Because Kyle Shanahan believes that with his scheme, he can win with whoever on the offensive line as long as he has a good left tackle. That's why the Miami Dolphins went out and they got Teron Armstead a few years ago. And that's why they still are leaning on this dude, even though he's fragile luggage. He always gets injured. Damn near every single game you watch, he's always getting injured. But with Mike McDaniel coming from that Kyle Shanahan coaching tree, he has that same mentality that let's just forget about the offensive line. We don't care about guards. We only care about having a good left tackle, a good right tackle to protect to his blind side. And as long as we got that, we're good. Like, no, you need to make sure that whatever you do this offseason, you prioritize the offensive line. Get you some doggone trench babies, man. We keep worrying about Tua's long-term health. You don't do Tua any favor of being able to last a decade long in this league when he's running around the way he was this afternoon. Why not take care of your franchise quarterback? If you're going to give Tua all this money and you have so much belief in him, why not give him the offensive line that can help him stay upright? I mean, all those hits that Tua was taking today, I was like, bro, is he going to end up getting another concussion? I mean, come on. You would think with the quarterback that's one concussion away from having to be forced to retire, the Dolphins would prioritize the offensive line more. Like, get you some doggone trench babies and better protect your franchise quarterback. It makes no damn sense how the Miami Dolphins have just neglected the offensive line for so many years, and yet they wonder why Tua Tagovailoa ends up being the player that he is in these big-time games late in the season. You can't expect for Tua to be functional against a front as good as what the Houston Texans are. You got Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter, and all kinds of other guys breaking loose. Come on, man. Get you some doggone trench babies, Mike McDaniel, and whoever that general manager is. Prioritize protecting your investment. Tua Tagovailoa is your CEO. And if you lose him, your season's over. That's the main reason why you're not making the playoffs this year, because you didn't protect Tua. And that's why you dug yourself into a hole that's been too deep for you to climb yourself up out of. Get you some doggone offensive linemen. Get you some damn trench babies.